Since February 12th, Joe Lozito is quickly becoming accustomed to being referred to by another name, Subway Hero. The Philadelphia native, husband and father of two, courageously ended the killing spree of Max Gelman on a New York City subway. Ending Gelman's spree, which was already at 4, wasn't an easy task, as Joe suffered multiple lacerations during their almost fatal altercation. Adding intrigue to the story is that Lozito, a mixed martial arts fan of over 15 years, used a technique he observed in the sport to save countless lives. Lozito, in many interviews since his near-death experience, has discussed that aside from helping end Gelman's spree, he was also glad to bring positive mainstream attention to the sport he loves. New York currently has a ban on mixed martial arts, so Lozito knows any good publicity could help people better understand the sport and hopefully end the ban. Mr. Lozito was kind enough to sit down with us in an exclusive interview and walk us through what exactly happened on that day.
I'm here with Subway Hero, Joe Lozito. Thank you for having an interview with us. I really appreciate you making time for me.
Basically what happened is I commute every day from Philadelphia. What I usually do is I drive into Jersey, take New Jersey Transit to Penn Station, and I take the 1 train to work. That particular day there was construction on the tracks, and every train was expressing the 72nd. So I figured, well, let's use common sense. Let's go on the platform for the 2 and the 3, and because it's double the amount of trains.
Mm-hmm.
Normally don't take the 2, and normally don't take the 3. The first train that came was the 3 train, and just got in and sat down, and thought I was on my way to work. And I'm sitting right, basically, where I'm sitting is right here, and the driver is basically right on the other side of this wall here.
Mm-hmm.
Gentleman comes up to the door, bangs on the door, let me in. I forgot to say, when I got on the train, 2 police officers got on with me, and they went right into the driver. So this guy comes up, filthy looking guy, shady looking guy, comes up, bangs on the window, says, "Let me in." Cop says, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm the police." The cop says, "You're not the police." And with that, the guy just walks away. 2 seconds later, another guy that was standing next to me comes knocking on the window. But this guy looked nervous, and he basically was knocking on the window trying to get the cop's attention. Basically, he was tapping and waving him to come out, but he looked like he was panicked. And I'm sitting here going, what the hell is going on? All these people are trying to get the attention of the cops. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And this guy, the second guy, as he's knocking, is basically looking over his shoulder. So I'm going with something's up, So now the first guy starts to walk back. So the second guy just hightails it back next to me. So the first guy starts walking back. He's walking up towards the door. He stops about 2 or 3 feet from the door, about 2 or 3 feet from me. Looks me dead in the eye. We make eye contact. He takes out the knife, takes out this big knife, maybe 8-inch knife, and says, "You're gonna die. You're gonna die." And he lunges at me. So he, I believe he hit me here first, and then when he went back is when I tried to shoot in for his legs. And what happened was I shot in too high and ended up around his waist. And while I was taking him down, he's basically doing this to the back of my head, which is where all these other scars came in. But I'm bigger than he is, and I guess I might have surprised him that fact that I fought back. I don't know. And he went down, and we get down on the floor. I'm on top of him, and basically, now he still has a knife in his hand, and he's got the knife, and he's flailing up. So his first, I'm trying to catch his wrist. First flail slices me here, and the second flail slices me here. Finally, third time up, I catch his wrist, and I fire it down, and he drops the knife. And then all of a sudden, he's like, okay. That's what he said. I'm bleeding all over, and he's like, okay. So then, at that point, the male cop taps me on the back. He says, "All right, get up, I got him. I get up, and now as I start to get up, I notice, now I notice all the blood that's coming out of me. And, then I start to get nervous, because I think when it first happened, I was just going on adrenaline, and now I'm panicking. So I'm consciously telling myself, stay calm. And now all of a sudden, I start to think I'm going to die. And now it's all on the line. So now I'm mad. All right, now I'm mad. The guy, the male cop is on top of this guy trying to handcuff him, Gelman, and he's squirming, and he's hopped up on something, and he can't get the handcuffs on him. So the female cop basically was just standing there, and while the male cop was having a hard time handcuffing him, this gentleman on the train named Alfred Douglas went over and helped him handcuff him. And the same gentleman, Alfred Douglas, basically came over to me because no other person on the train came over to help me. And Alfred basically said, "Is no one going to help this guy? He's going to bleed to death. No one's going to help him." So Alfred basically took his hand and was pressing up against the biggest wound back here. And one of the other passengers gave him some napkins and he pressed it up against there. The marks on my head still hurt, the scars on my head. There are days I'll just be sitting there working and out of the blue it'll just sting, you know, really sting. Like I'm not even thinking about it and all of a sudden it just feels like someone's pressing on it, you know. I guess the one thing that I have changed is I make sure I tell everyone how I feel about them. You know, there are times where you rush out of the house or something, and I always make sure I tell my wife and my kids I love them, or anyone in my family, I make sure I tell them I love them. Or you're sitting there watching TV and someone calls you to pick up the phone and you're like, "I'll just call them tomorrow." I don't do that anymore, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So, you know, that's probably it, but I think as far as life-changing stuff, that's probably, I just appreciate things a little bit more. I think that's only natural. I've never trained. I almost signed up for school once, and financially and time-wise it wasn't going to work out, so I didn't do it. I'm a football fan. I'm an MMA fan. I've been watching MMA since maybe before you were born. Honestly, I started in 1993. And I just think, you know, you see stuff over and over again, and it just sticks in your head. So yeah, I mean, you know, I would say it might have had a part in it, because, you know, if I wasn't a mixed martial arts fan, maybe I don't think to shoot for his legs. And that's really where I was going, and it really was, I didn't think about it. I didn't have time to think. It probably did play a part in it. Whether you can quantify that or not, I don't know, but I would say it probably did. You know, I'm talking to our local Fox station, my local Fox station, Fox 29, and there's 5 or 6 other media outlets right there. So they read the story in the Daily News, they read the story in the New York Post, and now they're hearing me talk about it to other news outlets, so the MMA questions are going to come up. It really was accidental, but if it helps the cause in getting it legislated in New York, then, you know, if a good thing came out of this, and that's it, then that'd be okay with me. You know, the sport's banned in New York because of a person or two, and basically their reluctance to change and to really open their mind. I understand their stance back then, but just like every other state, almost every other state, you take the time to watch it, you take the time to get to know these athletes, and you make your own opinion now in 2011. I mean, the character that these athletes have is second to none. The work ethic that these athletes have is second to none. The 2 things I would say is, I would say get with the program. It's 2011. It's a sport. The other thing is, look at the books. Look at the money that a single UFC weekend brings to any place they go. They just had the event in Toronto, 129.
First legalized event.
55,000 people in a baseball stadium. I'm anxious to see how many millions were infused into the Canadian economy and the Toronto economy. The country's suffering right now. The country is in deep financial trouble. And New York is no different. And you put that at the Garden, that will sell out in minutes.
Whether you believe mixed martial arts should be sanctioned in New York or not, it doesn't change that Lozito's actions were selfless and heroic. It is becoming more uncommon in today's world to hear about civilians doing the noble thing, and as a result, Joe Lozito's story should be applauded. On top of being a hero, with the scars to prove it, Mr. Lozito was kind enough to walk college students through his story in an exclusive interview. The world would be a better place if there were more people like Joe walking our streets.